Hi class, this is Mr. T, and today we're looking at Unit 2 and Marketing Essentials, and specifically we're focusing on P1. Now P1 says explain the roles and responsibilities of the marketing function. Now when we look at a question, we have to ask ourselves first, what is the question and can we understand the question? Because if you don't understand the question, then you can't really answer the question. So the first thing we do in the question is to look at the key words. The key word here is to explain, and to explain means to go into more detail. Hold on for 1 second. I don't know if you can see my mum over there. Mum, could you make me some hot water, please? So, the key word here is to explain. And then it says the roles and responsibilities of the marketing function. So before we look at the roles and responsibilities, we have to look at the marketing function and what the marketing process is all about. But before we even look at that, we have to understand what marketing is. There's no point just jumping in straight to what the marketing function is if we don't really understand the principles of marketing itself. So what is marketing? Well, Kotler and Porter might say that marketing is an exchange process, or they might say it's a mutually satisfying exchange process. Personally, I think that marketing is a philosophy. I think that marketing is a way of thinking, and it needs to be adopted in all the different departments, all different levels of the marketing organization. Let me explain. So I think, taking on board what Porter and Kotler have said, I think that marketing is a mutually satisfying exchange at a profit in the long term. Well, what does that mean? It means that if I go into a shop and I buy this mobile, then I get the mobile and I'm happy with this mobile. The shop actually gets the money and they're happy with the money. But it needs to be in the long term, because there's no point me buying this camera and then later on not being happy with the camera, and then once my contract's finished, then I go off to another provider, because marketing needs to be in the long term. So we need to have that customer coming back to the store again and again. So what does that mean? Well, it means that in every department, every level of the organization, even if there were 5 cleaners when you only need 3 cleaners, then you're not marketing orientated, because you need to be efficient and effective in your processes and your practices to make sure that you're not wasting money. Because if you're wasting money, then you're not making that much profit. And as we said in the definition, marketing is a mutually satisfying exchange at a profit in the long term. So if you've got more cleaners than you need, then you're wasting money, which means you've got less profit, which means you've got less money to spend in new product development, less money to spend on advertising, less money to spend on research, less money to spend on internally and externally analyzing the environment, less money spending on identifying consumers' needs, and less money in terms of your competitors giving the customer what he wants at the right time and at the right place. Thank you. Thank you, Mum. This is my mum. Come here.
Hi.
Say hello to my mum.
Hi.
Thank you. So in all areas of the organization, everyone is or needs to be marketing oriented. Everyone needs to be doing their jobs in the most effective and the most efficient way, so that they're making the most profit for the company, so that the company is making the most profit in terms of a mutually satisfying exchange at a profit for the whole organization. And in the long term, because you don't want to be in business for 5 years or 7 years, like the American has a long-term plan for 7 years, but rather than a Japanese plan in terms of 25 years. So the first thing we want to do really is lead into what we think that marketing is. And once we understand the concept that marketing is a philosophy, is a way of thinking, then we understand that marketing is in fact not just restricted to the marketing department. It's not just restricted to the operational level. In fact, marketing should be incorporated into the strategic and the operational level of all areas of the organization, and that must be the case. So that's the first thing you need to do when answering this question, lead into kind of like an introduction in terms of what marketing is. And then moving on to the question in terms of what are the marketing functions. Well, the marketing functions can be seen from two perspectives. It can be seen from a strategic level and from an operational level. Now, from a strategic level, we can see that it's influential in terms of the aims and objectives and the mission of the company. What is the company all about? When Steve Jobs was alive for Apple, he said that his mission was the future development of humankind. The future development of humankind. But now, Apple's mission statement are that it has essentially changed, and it's saying that the whole purpose of the company is or are its products. So there's a change in philosophy in terms of how two different people saw it in two different ways. But the mission statement is where it starts, because if you don't understand where the company is going, what the company is all about, then how do you know that what you're doing marketing-wise is in line with the underlying core culture, feel, and the mission of the company? So if we take the mission statement of Oxfam, the mission statement of Oxfam is to rid the world of poverty. So if you are raising profit and then not using that to rid the world of poverty in many different ways, then are you meeting the objectives of the company? Okay. Now, so marketing, one of the marketing functions is to obviously look at, review, and make sure that what you're doing is in line with the mission statement. Another function of the marketing role is the internal and external analysis. Is analysing the current situation of the company. Internal analysis using such methods as SWOT. SWOT as in strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So looking at the strengths and weaknesses which are internal to the company, and the opportunities and threats which are external to the company. So here we can see that marketing has a big role. Well, what does the marketing have to do? Well, marketing has to find out what's going on in the company and what's going out in terms of the opportunities and threats. And they can do that by using primary research where the information doesn't exist, so you have to find that through quantitative and qualitative methods. Quantitative methods representative of the population at large, and qualitative type methods in the main not representative of the population at large. So marketing is involved in that, market research, primary and secondary research. Secondary research which already exists, but putting that information together in a report format to decide what actually is happening and how that affects the company. If we look at the external environment, there are various models. One model includes PESTEL, political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental type factors that actually affect the company. So PESTEL, so if we were taking, for instance, Toyota and political factors that are affecting Toyota, well, what is the political factor that's affecting Toyota? Well, the political factor that's affecting Toyota is obviously Brexit. So we can see in Brexit, that's going to have a big effect. Well, it's going to have a big effect because we don't know, after 2 years, now that we've pressed Article 50, once we come out of Europe, and as long as it's not extended by the government, then what's going to happen? So Toyota are going to be producing their cars in the UK, and if they have to export those cars to Europe, then Europe most likely will put a tariff on those cars, which means that those cars will be more expensive. If the cars are more expensive, well, it's going to decrease the demand if the retail prices are more expensive in comparison to the competitors' products. Which means that they're going to lose sales in cars, which means they're going to lose profits. Or alternatively, if Toyota keeps the same retail prices but reduces their gross profit margin percentages, then they're still going to lose profits on each sale of each car. So what does this mean for Toyota? Well, it might mean that Toyota might need to take out their production and warehousing and their supply chain from the UK and push it all over to Europe. So big consequences for the company, big consequences for their workers in the UK, and so on and so forth. So that's just one example in terms of how things could or could not affect a company in terms of political factors from using PESTEL. There are other models, including Porter's 5-force model, including the BCG matrix, including the Ansoff model. So, but we're not going to go into all these. But nevertheless, it's part of the marketing role and function to look at the internal and external analysis in terms of SWOT and in terms of Pestel and BCG and Ansoff model and competitor analysis. So that is part of the marketing role and function. Once, you know, from a strategic level, once you have that information, even still from a strategic level, the marketing role next is to determine the marketing strategy. What is the marketing strategy for the company? Bear with me for a second. So when we're looking at the marketing strategy, we're saying to ourselves, what is the segmentation that we're going to be looking at? What is the targeting? Who are we going to focus on in that segment? And how are we going to position the products? Now, positioning is about positioning in the minds of the end consumer, our target market. So let's break this down. What is the marketing strategy? Let's take Zara, for instance. Zara Clothing, Spanish company, a multi-billion-pound company, and it has stores worldwide. Now, Zara itself has a segmentation strategy whereby they segment the